If you're in tech, then you should definitely watch this podcast. The podcast is with Shika, who is the founder of DevBytes. They have solved the biggest problem what techies face. Is that we want to learn something, but it is too big and the list keeps on getting large. So they created a product called DevBytes, which provides 64-word summaries of the tech articles. You can also read them in detail by just clicking on the link. And it keeps you updated with all the latest things in tech which are going on, be it in generative AI or be it in as obscure topics like PHP. Anything and everything is there on this website. In this podcast, we discuss about her journey, how they came up with this idea, and how the journey as a founder has been. We also talk about the current job market, the current developer ecosystem. Watch this episode till the end. It will give you enough motivation to build your own product. I went through your experiences and saw that you have done multiple startups. I also saw that you did a MA from Cornell University. So, what made you come back from the US and create startups here while living the life in the US which you already built?
First of all, Sugat, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here today. Yes, you're right. I was studying in the US. I was doing my master's at Cornell. But the idea was always to come back to India. The idea was never to be settled in the US. I'm a very emotional person. I'm very attached to my family. So the idea was to come back and sort of build anything in this country itself. So it wasn't a really difficult decision for me. As soon as my education was done, I decided to come back and I dabbled with a couple of startups here and there before we started news sites. And then eventually, over a period of 10 years, me, my co-founders, we did a lot of things, started with news bytes and, in content space, we did quite a few things. And finally, we are now also, why we are talking today is because of DevBytes, which is a app for developers. It's an app slash Chrome extension for developers where the idea is that so there are two three things that a developer does through his work life. First thing is that most of their time goes in coding where they are sort of interacting with the IDE. The second thing is that they want to upskill themselves, and which is why they read content, what's happening in the world of technology, for example, or in their realm of development. And the third thing is that in our experience we have realized that all developers want to increase their productivity. They're productivity junkies. So what DevBytes does is we do not play in the IDE space. There are lots of big players there, so that's not the space that we apply. What we do is we do the second and the third, which is the content and where we can help them increase their productivity. So that's where that's our sphere, so to speak, with DevBytes.
I also went to DevBytes. It's a great product. But I also read that you create 64 word summaries. So, how this number 64 came out of?
So the motivation is simple, and it is also, I think, a need where developers want to read. They want to upskill themselves. They understand that continuously reading is the way to grow, and which is why, uh, and it is very fancy to read or think that they'll be reading big blogs or release notes or whatever. It is very fancy to think, and you bookmark it, and you think that you'll come back to it and read it someday, but that doesn't really happen, because of the time crunch. And which is why we thought of this short form content, which is where we take a lengthy article and then summarize it in a way that it is crunchable, so that you do not live in a facade where you'll end up reading a lot of stuff, and don't do that, but you read little snippets, get on with the speed. And if you want to read more, you can always go to the source and read more whatever you are interested in. But it is a way to sort of update you what's happening in the world of technology development and so on. The word 64 came, I think it's a little geeky because the bits and bytes, so everything was a function of 8 for, this is how we landed up on 64.
Oh, nice. That's a great insight. So, how did you come up with the idea of DevByte? Also, how did you vet the content that whether this is good or not? Do you have a team of people or are you using AI in some sense for this?
So, when we started our journey with Newsbytes, and Newsbytes is a generic news company where we cover news from all sorts of beats, be it India, world, sports, entertainment, etc. We started off with manual writing, they were humans writing. But very soon in our journey, we realized that this is not how we want to scale up this company. And that's where we started dabbling with. something called as Yantra, which is our own in-house AI engine. That was in the year 2017, 2018, when no one was really talking about LLMs and artificial intelligence and so on and so forth. But we started in that direction back in 2017, 18. But of course, at a what much smaller scale, and it was just for our own audiences and our own editors. But when we started DevBytes, a few years back in 2021, 2022, when we started it, the world had changed. Everyone, there was Gen AI everywhere, everyone was suddenly talking about only LLMs and so on. Even in 2022, I think the penetration was less, but by 2024, it was, very high. But in 2022, when we started with DevBytes, we knew from the word go that we cannot be generating the content manually. And the idea for us was always to do it using technology. And now I'm very happy to tell you that most of our content, like 90% of our operations at DevBytes, are fully automated. From the time to select, whether this content piece should be covered or not, to so that is how the vetting happens. The AI engine does the vetting, and then so it selects whether it is important or newsworthy to cover or not, and then it writes and does the research for you and writes the article for you, and then it auto publishes also. So the entire end-to-end operations happen automatically, autonomously. But then, of course, there's a human layer because of the nature of work that we do. We reach out to so many people. We can't be factually incorrect. So the entire desk, whatever content we generate, it is run by just one human being. So whatever the AI engine generates, this human sort of vets it after sampling, and if there's a correction needed, that person does it, and that's about it. So all our operations are fully automated in that sense.
So, how did you come up with this idea? How did you enter this space? Because you had another startup also called NewsBytes, which is bite sized news content, and now bite sized development content.
Right. So, we've been doing this for a decade now. So, content is something which we really understand, I believe, because and we always knew that there is a gap. Let me first talk about news bites, and then I'll come and talk about dev bites. So, with news bites, the competition was with the mainstream media, the likes of NDTV, India Today, and so on. And when we were, kids, when we were growing up, we realized that everyone wants to read news, everyone wants to be updated, but people do not have the patience to go through what mainstream media is generating. And their format also didn't change over time. You know, from newspaper to websites to mobile apps and so on. The format, the device kept changing, but the format remains the same. With mainstream media. And I don't think people have that kind of an appetite to read such lengthy articles, and polluted with so many ads. But that's their model, right? So we always knew that there is a gap where people want to read news, but they are not being given the news in which they want to consume. And that's how Newsbytes, the idea of Newsbytes came, where we divide every article in the form of cards. It is crunchable, you skim through it, you get to know what's happening in the world. So that was with Newsbytes. As a natural extension of Newsbytes, all of us are techies at heart. So as a natural extension of Newsbytes, DevBytes was germinated. Where we thought that a developer is not interested in knowing what's happening in political circle. He's very much interested in knowing, what's happening in the world of PHP, for example. Like I said, he wants to upskill himself day in and day out. So we knew that, and like I earlier said, that it is fancy to think that you can read long form, but because of your time crunch, you don't end up reading that much, right? So, which is why we realize that there is a gap which can be filled with this bite-sized news. We're not claiming that if you read these bite-sized content pieces, you'll become a master of that particular programming language, but you'll at least know, what's happening at a surface level. And if you're interested, which you must be, then you can, dabble and read more. So that's the whole idea. We very early on in our career, we realized that there is a gap, and very early on in our career, we also realized that we wanted to fill this gap with the help of technology. Now, because of LLMs, things have really changed. The world has really changed. Um, but has it really? In the sense that uh, can you rely on AI to create the entire content piece for you? I don't think you can. You have this. There is a lot of garbage also being churned out, which is why you need your sort of expertise and work in tandem. The AI engines have to work in tandem with humans to create content which is consumed, which people are consuming. So yes, it's a marriage between humans and machines for us.
Yeah, I totally agree because in every field you have to give, like in coding also, you have to give prompts, then make it correct. It cannot do everything on its own as of now. And same for content. How do you like cover all the areas in this? Like there can be very opaque areas like PHP, which are very old, or some new things like model context protocol, MCP servers, AI agents. So how do you cover this huge breadth of topics?
So the important thing is, of course, if you are a Python engineer, you're not interested in the world of PHP. So first thing is definitely personalization. You can't throw everything at anyone and everyone. So for us, content generation is not a problem because, like I said, the process is fully autonomous. So whatever important news, whatever tips and tricks, whatever explainers you have in the language, that is being covered by machines. That's simple. Now you can't bombard a user. The whole USP is that you are not bombarding the user. You want to make the user read the entire thing. For example, we send only two notifications a day. All right. So the first notification of the day on DevBytes is on the Android app is and the iOS app is the daily digest, where we cherry pick 32 shots for you. That's about it. And it's a mix of technology news, AI news, something related to, let's say, Elon Musk, a meme here and there, and then hardcore development, programming slash sort of news. All right. So our whole idea is that we do not want to bombard you. We only want to give you the news or the content pieces which are relevant for you. um, a lot of our efforts go also goes into finding the relevant news for you. Again, when I say the efforts, it's not a human effort, it is the machine's effort. Whether we are able to find a right GitHub repo for you, whether we are relevant for you in your work life or not, right? So, and then there's this personalization layer, and our personalization layer works beautifully. So if you are a PHP engineer, we may give you a news about Laravel, the various frameworks, etc. But we are not going to bother you just for the sake of bombarding you. We don't do that. Our thesis is entirely different from, I think most content companies want to bombard you with things in the hope that you would read something. Our idea is that we will cherry pick news for you, content for you, and you may not read 100 things, but whatever 32 for 34 things that we're giving you, you read it in and out so that you have that sense of completion.
Yeah, that is very helpful. What I have also seen is that on major social media platforms, you see a lot of different news which is irrelevant for you, but then you feel bad about it because you don't know it. It might not be even useful for you or maybe anyone, but still it is in the news.
That's what I'm saying. That is additional burden where you think that you want to read something, but you don't end up reading. But you always think that open tab is always, sort of triggering you, but it never gets closed also.
So what I have noticed is that a lot of engineers, I would not say majority, but a lot of them just want to read for interviews. So they just want to read to crack the interviews. They don't actually want to learn that knowledge. So do you also think from that perspective while building this product?
Actually, I don't. I don't sort of agree with you. I think, in my experience, developers are very ambitious and they are always looking to do very well at their jobs. Of course, giving interviews and sort of acing it and making more money is all a part of this. But I think it all boils down from them being ambitious, and which is why they all know that knowledge upskilling is a crucial part of their career. And I believe that people are not just, in our experience, I don't think people are consuming news or content only because they want to do well at their job or in interviews, but they also want to be in the know-how of what is happening in the world. Let's say, for example, quantum computing. We cover quantum computing quite a lot. It's not going to directly impact their professional life. But from the data, we see that people also engage with that sort of a content, which is slightly futuristic. Um, but they still are interested. So I think most developers are ambitious. They're always wanting to upskill themselves, and they're also quite interested in technology in general. And my ask as the co-founder of DevBytes is, you just give me 7 8 minutes. The difficult part where I am collating the information, all of that is the back end for me. All of that is background. I am not making your life difficult. I am finding the most relevant content for you. Then I have the AI engine, which is also sort of doing the editor's job. So if something is super irrelevant, the AI engine chucks it off. So I am sort of doing all that dirty or difficult work for you and giving everything you on a platter. So all I'm then asking you is 3 to 4 minutes, 5 minutes of your day, every of minutes of your work day. When you're commuting or wherever, just give me those 3 4 minutes. Read the entire digest, which is just 32 shots, and I'm promising you that it is going to help you somewhere in your professional life. And I think the my users are also doing their side of the bargain here, where like average session length is 4 minutes, upwards of 4 minutes. Our retention rates are off the charts. So I think what we are doing, somewhere it is making sense for the users.
You mentioned that you see these metrics. So, which area in tech would you say that most developers are wanting to read?
So hands down, now it is generative AI. Everyone wants to know what's happening in the world of LLMs, and rightly so. I think it is the internet moment for our generation. And just to put things into perspective, nobody was talking about OpenAI, for example, just 1.5 2 years back. Things have changed so drastically in the past couple of years. So yes, generative AI is something which everyone is interested in. Open source is again something which developers are very very interested and focused about. And then I in my experience, I think developers are also wanting to always increase their productivity. Like I said, they're productivity junkies. So if we get find a good tool for them which can help in their professional life, I think we see a lot of engagement in those kind of content pieces.
So I see a lot of good repositories coming up in the open source space in generative AI. So do you also put those on your website?
Right, right, we do.
Also, I wanted to ask from founder's perspective, when you're working on a startup, you might feel that your startup might not work, users might not come, and some other idea which you think might work better. So have you ever faced that, and how do you get past that?
So it's not have you ever. It is something which is a daily occurrence. You question every single thing that you do. Half the things that you think of, they don't work. I think the success ratio is less than 50% of the all the ideas that you keep on brainstorming, and then in the execution phase, I think it is less than 50%. So you sort of question every single thing that you do. You're always, I think, on your edge whether that decision was right or wrong. You don't see success that fast. At least that is my experience. So yes, there is this sort of questioning and wanting to do better every single day. It's never the question of ever. It is the question of if one day goes without, some it's remarkable in that sense. It's every day that you are questioning every single thing that you do, be it from the product side, be it from the execution side, be it from the team side, whether the hiring was right or not, whether this idea will work or not, whether my investors will be happy with this idea or not, will I be able to monetize it or not? There are many, many ifs.
Yeah, definitely. So what's one feature of DevBytes which looks very simple but was very challenging to build?
I'm not going to talk about the features that already are, but let me talk about the new feature that we are bringing in. So that is the Chrome extension that we are working on. It is called Zero AI. The whole idea is that we will try reducing your to-do list by making an actionable item out of it. All right. So or we will reduce your meeting notes by again making actionable items out of it. That I think was very difficult to do. It is very simple to sort of be the work as assistant that you want to be, but it is extremely difficult to understand what a developer wrote in the meeting notes or what they wrote in their to-do list and then sort of make actionable items out of it. I think it was extremely challenging. But the good news is that most of it is done now, and we are looking for the alpha version of the product. As a matter of fact, next week we are launching it.
About like how do you bring in the notes and the to-do list? So you mentioned that you bring it from the Google calendars. So what other connectors do you have?
Right. So there are two parts to it. First thing is that most people are already using some sort of a tool for maintaining this to-do list. The other bit is that you can make Zero AI as your main tool, where you can use it for making a to-do list. All right. So if there is a to-do list that you're
Okay.
already using, we can import that data, or you can use natural language prompts to create the to-do list from the Zero AI extension itself. Either ways, we will have a repository of your to-do list. And then if we see that there is, let's say you wrote um, in the to-do list that discuss PRD with Rahul. Let's say you wrote that. So the AI engine then understands that this is a task that you want to do, which is why it will go to, and Rahul is your colleague, it understands that. So it will go check Rahul's calendar, and it will check your calendar, find a slot where both of you are free, and create a meeting request for both of you so that you can discuss the PRT during that time. All right. Then you have the option to choose it. It is taking that liberty where it is checking your calendar, finding a free slot, and also creating an event for you, which you would be doing. But think of it like an executive assistant who is working for you in the background. You don't even have to give the permission. It is automatically doing it, finding the free slot and doing it. Of course, if you do not want to discuss it, that day or whenever, you can of course sort of delete that event. But if you have the intent to do it, and or you want to do it, you can do it. The AI engine, the Zero AI engine, has made it simple for you, right? So that is the first thing that it does, where it understands your meeting notes or understands your to-do list and create actionable items out of it. But let's say and then there's something called as focus mode. For example, you have a product. For example, tomorrow there is something like that you want to discuss about a particular product, and you have to do the brainstorming. So what you can do is you can outsource that research bit to the AI, to the Zero AI engine. You tell it that tomorrow this is the deliberation that you have to do. In the night it will do the research for you. So when you turn on that mode, you will have the talking points for yourself. You don't have to do the research. It is doing that kind of a deep research for you while you are sleeping. So it is making you ready. It is making you more productive day in and day out. And the focus mode that I was talking about, when you turn it on, everything goes off. You're just in your zone coding, nothing disturbs you. Basic thing that a focus mode does. Then you can turn it off. Things
Okay.
like that. But the whole idea is to make you more productive and make your life simple. Definitely, there's an intent to finish off the to-do list, but you're not able to do it. The Zero AI just makes it happen for you in that sense.
Product really sounds great because, like you mentioned, that it is connecting, even scheduling the events, taking, seeing the other people's calendars, and also doing the research part. So I think there are a lot of new browsers which are coming in, like agentic browsers, and this is doing specifically for developers, which is really great. So how do you ensure security in this? Like, for example, because it will have access to the Gmails. So, like, do you also spend a lot of time in the security vulnerabilities which might be there, or something which can happen?
Yes, you're 100% right. I mean, the kind of, and most people have these issues with agentic browsers, be it, for example, Atlas or Perplexities or whatever. The security remains an issue. So, yes, there are definitely guardrails around the product that we have created. The product has to be super secure. You can't mess up with people's Gmail, for instance. Um, but yes, once the product is out of the lab and in the real world, we'll know what's going to happen. But from our end, my CTO, for example, that is his specialty. He's a very sort of finicky about, he's finicky about two things. One is how the code is being structured. He makes the life of developers, our developers, very, very difficult. And the other thing that is very finicky is security. Having said that, the world is, when the product goes into the real world, you get to see things that you can't even think of, happening to you. So yeah.
Like with these LLMs, and all the new things which have come up in AI, like maybe MCP servers, agents. So, what are the major things which you have adopted at DevByte?
I think most of it, yeah. this zero AI is the AI agent that we are talking about, right? uh, Generative AI to a lot of fine tuning models to sort of using the foundation models to everything out there. And we are not really married to one sort of an LLM. We use, for example, open source models for something. We use Perplexity for something else. A lot of work is being done using OpenAI's products, APIs, etc. So yeah, a lot of things, lots of lots.
Like if you had to give advice to developers regarding like in this times, because in AI times it gets very hard for anyone to know like what to learn. Like you have solved pretty much how to learn for anyone, like at least to know the shorts. But like what to learn, what area to focus on, like what would be your advice?
My advice, I think, for developers would be to build. Learning can happen side by side. I think once you start building something, even if it is, let's say, a resume builder of sorts, in the sense that there is a somebody is submitting a resume to you and you're making it better for them, right? Even a little project like that, or I don't know, little indie projects that people keep doing, whatever problems that you face in your life outside of your work film, right? I think all of that, keep building day in and day out. Learning can happen. It is a part of those that building part, and it is very simple to sort of do the vibe coding. I don't think that is the right way, at least as far as my opinion goes. Do the dirty work yourself. And you can, of course, outsource a lot of things to the AI, the world that we are living in now. But you still have to know what's going in your code. The AI engine can do something for you. It can make a bare bone structure for you. But if you want to create a good product, a scalable product, I don't think you can just outsource it to somebody else, right? So you have to do the grunt work.
I agree definitely. With vibe coding, it's like you can definitely like augment with it, like do some basic tasks, like some basic code. But at the end, the main idea of how to build a distributed system, you have to think how to actually build it. Yeah. So, in your founder's journey, like what has been the most challenging thing in all of the startups which you have done? Like the most challenging part of your job?
So there are two parts, I think, which I feel are super challenging. When you start off with a new idea, when you're building a, be it a product or be a little feature, when you start off building it, you're very excited. The energy level is very high. Everyone is wanting to sort of meet the deadlines, do great things, and you reach to a level where 80% of the work you end up doing, or 70% of the work you end up doing with a lot of energy and gusto. The remaining 20-30%, where you think of the edge cases, where you're stuck with the difficult things, I think that's where a lot of people lose focus, including myself. And I think that is where that is the difference between an average product or a good product or an excellent product. That 20-30% of the journey that you don't end up taking, that you don't think of the edge cases and other things around it, that is, therein lies the world of a difference. I think that is the most difficult thing that I struggle with, and I think this company also struggles with, all developers, because people want to do great work, but as things become incrementally difficult, you tend to lose focus. And the second thing is, um, when to let go something. I think that is also very difficult. When do you decide that, hey, this is not working, and I need to now pivot or close it or shut it and move on to better things? I think that decision making is very difficult personally for me.
Both the points that you mentioned, like they are like exactly like what I think a lot of people would be facing. So like the first thing you mentioned, like I face it every day kind of. For example, if you, even if you're building a feature, you write code for it, do testing for it, but then some part of some testing is left which is a bit harder to do and you think that it will work, but then it ends up failing the most. Yeah. So yeah. And so any what with the dev bytes, like what are the new features that you're planning or the new areas which you are planning to explore?
So with DevBytes, I think our whole idea is that if you think of content, you should think of us. We should. There are many avenues you're competing with. People put out great stuff on Twitter. People put out great stuff, on open source platforms, etc. But the whole idea is that you don't have to go to 10 different sources. You come to us, and we are able to satisfy every single content need of yours. That is, we become the go-to source as far as content goes. So I think every single feature that we are thinking about, for example, we are working on something called as DevBytes rules now, where let's say the some API that you use in your product, okay, you have customized DevBytes rules in a certain way that if those APIs go down, you get a notification. All right, you don't have to go check elsewhere. You This is a little example that I'm giving. So the DevBytes rules get triggered, and you get a notification that hey, this API is not working. All right, which API with that API is you using in your work projects. So you know why this particular thing is not working. All right. So these kind of things where everything related to your product, as in the work life and your content needs, we are able to satisfy. So this is what the larger goal of the company.
So, like, if someone comes up and says, like, why should I not go to Twitter or Threads or YouTube and like go to DevBytes? So, like, what would you say? Why should they come?
I don't know. I can't. I can't stop you, and I can't also be under the impression that I can stop you, right? I mean, if there is good content out there on Twitter, you can consume it in less than a minute. Why shouldn't you, right? But my job as DevBytes should be to make sure that that content you see first at DevBytes, you know, or either I am giving you that first, or I am adding value to that. I'm adding value as far as that content piece goes. It's very simple to go check Twitter and see the tweet and be happy and learn something new, right? But if I am able to add that much more value to that particular tweet, you'll end up coming to me. So my product has to speak, but if you are getting more satisfied, or your needs are being satisfied by Twitter, go by all means. Yeah, I mean, um, how could I stop you, right? So that's the whole idea. My idea should be to add value to what I am writing for you.
Definitely, I feel like if someone is going to Twitter or any other platform, it's a lot of distraction. It's not always just tech. So what ends up happening is you start reading about something, maybe one good tweet, two good tweets, and then there is a lot of different areas of conversations going on, be it politics and something, and you get distracted, and you cannot get the actually tech content which you wanted to read.
But that's the whole idea. If I can add value for you, be it in the form of content, be it in the form of saving your time, be it in the form of giving you all the relevant pieces in one on one platform, so that you don't have to go find the relevant content elsewhere. I am adding value, and you will end up coming to the platform, right? um, and definitely there are no distractions definitely on DevBytes, but uh, as compared to Twitter, for example. But um, but that everyone knows that there are discussions, and a part of going to Twitter is also to getting entertained. So can I also bring entertainment to my platform? And by that entertainment, I don't mean that I'll add some sort of a meme or a video or something like that. But can I educate, inform, and entertain you with my content? If I can, you will end up coming on the platform. So my idea is to educate you, to inform you, but also entertain you in a certain way. And by entertainment, I don't mean, like I said, putting out irrelevant content. I can entertain you with relevant content also, the way I'm writing. So that is the goal that we are chasing for us.
Yeah, that's actually a really hard task to do, to make like education entertaining. It's like very the most hard thing, which I think because I create YouTube videos and I know like they get so boring, so it's very hard to actually make them entertaining. So have you also thought about like because people are post like people are focusing more on creating maybe long form courses or course websites or some sort of things. Have you ever thought of that long form of content on DevBytes also, or it will always be just shorts? The other part of it is like, do you also envision it being more types of content? For example, maybe videos or shorts. in form of videos?
So second part, yes. I mean, I think the world also dictates you in a certain way. If people are consuming, I may believe that text is the most efficient way to consume content, but you may not believe it, and my user base may not believe it. You know, so yes, if the market dictates you in a certain direction, you take that direction. But right now, I think text is super efficient. You don't get distracted. You read in less than 5 seconds, 10 seconds, a short of 64 words, and you get very satisfied. There are no ads, etc. But never say never. So I don't know whether there will be different content forms or not. I am a big believer of textual content at the moment. And the first question is that no, there will be no long form. We believe in reducing the clutter. We believe that people are already not reading a lot of things out there. And if I have to be a me too, where I'm just following what others are doing, not applying my brains, and going out of my thesis, I think I'm in the wrong. I strongly believe that you have to, like I said, give things on a platter and make it easy for readers to read. And central, the main focus of that easy reading is by reducing the clutter, by giving them just the relevant information. And I think sometimes you can say less. I think you can say a lot more in less words. You necessarily do not need every time of 300 words article to say something which can be said in 64 words, for instance.
I totally agree to that. Yeah, a lot of people, like a lot of big articles, people are unable to read them, and they are just kept on the shelf. Uh, like the last question which I have is like about your journey. So, like you have more than a decade of experience of like being a founder. So, like, when did you actually decide becoming a founder and not actually following the tech job kind of thing? Because, like, from the time which, like, you did your MA, like, uh, I think at that time a tech job like was a very big thing. Like right now they have been become a lot more common, but at that time it would be like really great. So I think it would have been even harder choice at that time to become a founder. So how did you make that choice, and how has your journey been?
Journey has been great, has been awesome. I have enjoyed every bit of it. The days that I haven't enjoyed also are the days that I've enjoyed. So most of it has been very, very. I'm very grateful for this journey, that the path that I chose. I'm very grateful for my co-founders and my team, etc. Cliche as it sounds. But when did I take that decision? I think it was very implicit, in the sense that my father, my grandfather, both of them, I come from a business family. All right. So running a business, I think, was very central to my upbringing, I believe. And then one thing, you do not plan your journey. I don't think um, you know, it's not like that. I mean, you can't plan every step of the journey. You know the larger things in life, and then you take tiny steps, towards those. So, yeah, I think I never set out to do this. It just also happened in a certain way. But I think it's a function of upbringing and how you think and what you want to do, and then the opportunity. I think the timing. Yeah. So I came back to India. I thought that content space is something which we can dabble, and one thing led to another, and here I am.
Right. Great. So at any point did you ever think that maybe you like take up some director position at a tech company or something like that? Or were you always said that you always want to be a founder?
So now I keep saying that I am unemployable. I don't think anyone is going to employ me.
I don't
Purely.
think I don't think that you have such a lot of great experiences, and like I think
I think now I've come to a point where I can't be employed. So I'm very happy to be, at Newsbytes, where I am doing what I'm doing and hoping to do good stuff, hoping to see more success, I believe.
great. Yeah, so DevBytes, yeah, is a really great product. I'm using it. I've started using it now, and definitely, anyone who's watching this video would definitely like to use it. And it was a great conversation. So, on the closing remarks, do you have anything for the audience?
I mean, I think we talked at length about a lot of things. It was a pleasure talking to you. Um, and yeah, I think, yes, keep building, be happy.